As a child, I was raised in a Christian home. My grandparents went to church. My papa actually built the church that I went to. My parents took me to church every Sunday. You had to go unless you were really sick or almost dead. So we would go to church. I remember the rides to church and back from church, and it's just an awesome time. I was blessed with very good parents who instilled that value in me. When I was about 7 years old, I remember the preacher talking about everyone who was going to go to hell and how to get to heaven. And so when I got home that day, I remember sitting in my bed and I was just crying, and it was Father's Day. And my daddy walked in the room and he says, "What's wrong, honey? Why are you crying?" And I'm, "Daddy, I don't want to go to hell. I don't want to go to hell." So we said the sinner's prayer, and I was baptized a few weeks later. Through my teenage years, I was very involved in the youth group. My sister and my brother-in-law were the leaders in the youth group, so I was very involved. We went on mission trips. We did lots of things. I was involved with Vacation Bible School and helping with those things. And at 18, I even taught GAs. That's kind of young to teach GAs, but it was fun, and I still have relationships with those girls. I started to realize that I knew God because I believed in Him, but I didn't have a true relationship with God. So when I was 18, I rededicated my life to God at that point. I got married when I was 20 years old to a man that had a child from a previous marriage, and I fell in love with that child. He was mine in my heart. He was my baby. And things went great for a while, and I got pregnant, and I was just so overjoyed. I always wanted my own child, and I had a baby in 2004, and his name was Caleb. And things started to go a little downhill after Caleb was born. And then when Caleb was 8 months old, I lost a child, and I know she's with Jesus now. And I know that that is what she saw when she first opened her eyes. But that did a lot to my soul at that point. I still loved God, and I still believed in Him, but that hurt a lot. I didn't understand why He had done that to me. But I got past that, and but our marriage didn't get past that. Ultimately, it ended in divorce, and so I was a single mother. His child actually stayed with me, and I was so thankful for that. God allowed that too. So it was me and my two boys, and it was rough. It was hard. Summer of 2006, I met a very handsome man named Sean, and he had children of his own. He had 2 girls and a boy, and I fell in love with them too. I've always loved children, so it was easy for me to fall in love with them as well. But we started a relationship, and he was not a believer. He actually told me that he didn't date Christian girls, but he decided to date me and give me a chance as long as I wouldn't push it on him. And I'd been taught not to push God on anybody, to just show him God's love, and if they come to him, that's between them and God. So that's what I did. So Sean started going to church with me, and praise God, he gave his life to Jesus, and I couldn't have been happier. So our dating rocked on, and we were married, and it was awesome. September 15th, it was the greatest day of my life. And after we were married, we both desired to have a child together. And we didn't, people thought we were crazy because he had 3 children, I had 2 children. Why did we need another child? But we wanted to share that experience together. We wanted to give that child our love that we felt for each other. So we began to try to have a child together. For 6 long years, we tried month after month after month to have a child together. And during this time, the beginning part of the 6 years, we were very involved in church. All of us, our children, me, him, we taught a Mission Friends class together. And, but every month, when I would see that negative pregnancy test, I started to grow angry. I didn't understand, like, God, I'm doing what you want me to do. I'm reading my Bible. I'm praying. I'm raising my kids to love you. I'm showing your love, but you won't give me a child. Why, God? And I became very envious of people who were pregnant. I would see somebody walk into a room that was pregnant, and I needed to walk out of that room because of the way I felt inside. I was ugly. And I still believed in God. I just didn't like it. I was mad. I was confused. I was hurt. During that time, I completely turned from God. I didn't talk to him. I didn't pick up my Bible. I certainly didn't go to church. I had the feeling, if you're not going to do for me, why should I do for you? And it was rough. It was really rough. I was very, very ugly on the inside. And it was hard. I still tried to be a good mama, but I know it affected me. I still tried to be a good wife, but I know it really affected me with that. And sorry. But I tried to hide it from my mom. I tried to hide it from my friends because I didn't want my mom and daddy worried about me. But every night I would cry myself to sleep. There were times I would be home and the kids would be gone, or, I would be in my bathroom and I would just yell at God. Why? Why are you doing this to me? What did I do so bad that you will not give me a child? You're giving teenagers children. You're giving women children who don't want them. Like, what are you doing this to me for? And those 6 years were probably the worst 6 years of my entire life for myself, because my insides were torn up and ugly and destroyed. Everything about my soul was destroyed. I didn't feel like I was a good enough woman to have a baby. I didn't feel like I was a good enough wife, mother. Everything was completely ugly on my insides. Well, time rocked on, and God gave me kind of an assurance that I wasn't going to have a child. I kept telling my husband, we're not going to have a baby. And he would encourage, yes, we will. We just got to keep praying. And I knew God laid it on my heart. Like, he told me pretty much. And I think he was trying to help prepare me, but I didn't look at it that way at that time. But, I knew we were not going to have our own biological child. So we started talking about adoption, and we knew we could love another child as our own, one that wasn't biologically ours, because I loved his as mine and he loved mine as his. So we started looking into adoption, and actually his oldest daughter, my daughter, Elena, and I started looking into it. Sean knew we were going to, but didn't know exactly when. So we were sitting on our bed one day, and we were going to look up adoption agencies. And we ran across this forum where these birth mothers were talking. And to this day, I couldn't tell you how I got to that forum. Well, the big I, but this birth mother had posted a post, and it said, I'm 7 months pregnant and I need a home for my baby girl. And it had her email. So Elena was just ecstatic. She's like, oh, you have to email her, Ma. Please send her an email. We could have a baby. And I'm like, girl, are you crazy? Like, I'm not emailing some lady on the internet that's giving her baby away. What are you talking about, you know? She would not stop. She kept on and on and on about it. So in order to get my daughter to hush, I emailed her. I never expected anything to come of that email. I never expected a reply, or if I did get a reply, I expected it to be some kind of scam, them want money, something like that. So I just kind of put it in the back of my head and went on about my business. The very next day, I was driving home from town, and my phone rang, and it was a number I didn't know. And if you're like me, you don't answer numbers you don't know, because they either want money or want to sell you something. But for some reason, the big again, I answered that phone that day. And the first thing she said, of course, was, "Hi, this is Talisha." And at that very moment, and I know this sounds crazy, but at that moment, I knew why God had not let me have that baby. I knew why I had had 5,000 negative pregnancy tests. I knew why He had kept me from being able to have my own biological child. And I know that sounds crazy, but I knew with every ounce of my being that this is what He had waiting for me. So I drove home after talking to her for a minute. I drove on home, pulled in the driveway. Sean was playing ball with the kids. And I run up and I'm so excited, and I'm, "Honey, we're going to get a baby. We're going to get a baby." And I tell him all about it, and he's looking at me like, "Have you lost your mind?" You know, I mean, he wanted a baby just as bad as I did, but I'm telling him that I just found a baby on the internet. Like, that doesn't happen. So, he took me from way up here to way down here. So I walk up to my porch, and I'm sitting there, and I'm texting my cousin, and I'm telling her, you know, Sean won't let me get this baby, and he doesn't think it's real and all this. Well, her husband actually texted me while I was texting his wife, and he said, "God has given you a puzzle, and it's up to you to put this puzzle together." And I don't know what it was about those words, but it lit a fire under me. And I jumped up off that porch swing. I marched down the stairs, and I marched to Sean, and I put my hands on my hips, and I looked at him, and I said, "I am getting this baby." And I turn around, and I go to walk inside, and I hear him tell the kids, "We might want to go see what's going on." So I go inside, and I start selling everything off the walls. I knew that an adoption would take a lot of money, and I knew we didn't have a lot of money. We had about $500 to our name at that point. So I was taking pictures of things on the walls. I was selling everything that I possibly could. Sean's guitar that he probably still doesn't forgive me for, but anyway, no, I'm sure he does. But I had also listed his weight bench for sale. And I had listed it for sale for $100 or best offer. The day before I listed this, I had spoke to the attorneys in Ohio. We had to have 2 Ohio attorneys and 1 Senatobia attorney. I love Senatobia because it's a hometown and everybody loves everybody. So our attorney here in Senatobia completely did everything for free. But the Ohio attorneys, they didn't know us, so they didn't care. They wanted their money. And they had to have $2,500 in 2 days to get the process started. And so I am going crazy trying to get this $2,000 so that we can put it with the $500 that we had to give to this attorney to get this process started. She was 7 months pregnant. We had 2 months to get something done that normally takes people a year to 2 years to do. So I had listed the weight bench, back to that, and I had coached this lady's daughter in upward cheer. And she messaged me and she said, "Hey Jennifer, I want to get the weight bench from you." And she came to the house, she loaded it up, and again I'd put $100 or best offer. So she hands me a check and she says, "This is my best offer." Automatically I thought, oh she just gave me $25. And I had already added her $100 to my list of the $2,000 that I needed. But I opened the check, and the check was written for $2,000. And y'all, I could barely stand up. She had to literally hold me up. I fell into her arms and I said, Christy, I can't take this from you. And she looked at me and she said, Jennifer, if you do not let me give you this money, you're not letting me do the will of God, because this is the amount that He spoke to me this morning. If that is not validation of our mighty God, I don't know what is. And the whole process went that way. We had bake sales that people were buying cakes for $300. We got a reimbursement check from AT&T. Like, that doesn't happen. The whole process went that way. And then on October the 2nd, 2013, my little girl was brought into this world. And I was so fortunate enough to be in that delivery room. And it was amazing, and her birth mother is so amazing. And after she was born, they were cleaning her up, and I walk over and I'm standing beside it, and I'm just in awe. I'm in awe of this child, you know. And I look at the nurse and I ask her, I said, can I touch her? And at that moment, that nurse was not speaking to me. I know with all of my heart that God spoke through that nurse to me, because she looked at me and she said, of course you can, child. She's yours. And I felt more emotion than I had ever felt in my life. I was so happy, but I was so guilty, because I had treated him so bad. I had betrayed him. I had turned from him. And this is what he had waiting for me. This beautiful life just for me. And I can't say that I would go back and change my story. I can't say that I would do anything different, because I couldn't sit here today and tell you this. But our God, He loves you. He loves you so much. And if you just have faith and just trust Him, He has what is best for you. Now our sweet little Porter Bernice is 3 years old, and she is the light of our lives. She lights up everybody that she meets. And through my story, through her adoption, through His love, He has opened doors for me to do things that I never imagined. I do a ministry through Porter's Pearls, and I'm so blessed with that. And I thank Him every day for it. And it's overwhelming of how much support I have had. And I'm Jennifer Jenkins, and His grace is enough.